Testing for WRAL. Oh, I didn't know who that was. Thank you, everyone. We have a quorum. We will now begin with the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now begin with Superintendent Moore's comments.
Good evening. I'm sure many of you have seen the announcement last week of our 2018-19 Principal of the Year and Assistant Principal of the Year finalists, but I wanted to publicly congratulate all 10 of these exceptional school leaders. I can tell you from experience that being a principal or an AP is a very rewarding and a very demanding, sometimes ridiculous, job. Remembering to say thank you is important, so thank you to all of our building level administrators. It's great to take time every year to recognize the long hours and skilled leadership these passionate educators have devoted to their school communities. So a hearty congratulations to the following Assistant Principal of the Year finalists: Tracy Avery at Lynn Road Elementary, Xavier King at Martin Magnet Middle, Rodney Smith at Apex High School, Roxanne Sykes at Washington Magnet Elementary, and Katie Ware at Wiley Magnet Elementary. And to the Principal of the Year finalists, Dr. Sandy Chambers at Hortons Creek Elementary, Dr. Will Chavis at Enloe Magnet High School, Kim Grant at Lincoln Heights Magnet Elementary, Brian Pittman at Holly Springs High School, and Dr. Ruth Steidinger at Olive Chapel Elementary. Moving from principals to some of our youngest folks, I'd like to highlight the hundreds of eager 5-year-olds and their parents who descended on Marbles Kids Museum on Saturday for the annual kickoff to kindergarten. This event is always a fun way for our newest students to get a feel for the basics of school, getting on and off a bus, typical classroom routines, going through a lunch line, and all importantly, the importance of sharing. Parents also learned about saving for college, which is necessary that early, and a variety of career paths, because it's never too early to start thinking about the ultimate goals of productive citizenship as well as college or careers for every child who walks through our doors. Our youngest students are very cute, but we take the business of educating them very seriously. We know that the sooner that young people feel comfortable in our schools and in that environment, the sooner that they will be ready for high levels of learning and academic success. So thank you to Marbles for creating and hosting this event, one of the many ways that our community helps our kindergartners and their families hit the ground running. And speaking of hitting the ground running, the majority of our schools will open their doors to students in less than a week. As always, there's much to be excited about as another school year kicks into high gear. And thanks to the generosity of Wake County taxpayers, we are opening 4 brand new schools, while 2 school communities will return to their newly renovated buildings. We are entering the 2nd year of our English language arts and math curriculum that will include 4th, 5th, 7th, and 8th graders this year. And our district continues to stay ahead of the curve by offering innovative programs within our Vision 2020 strategic plan. Heritage High School, for example, is launching a career academy focused on agribusiness, while Middle Creek has created a new health sciences career pathway in the high school. With financial help from county commissioners, we have hired additional school counselors and have increased training to help build trusting and positive relationships with children. I'm proud to work for a district that stresses this kind of innovation, and I'm grateful for the generous support of our community that makes it possible. I hope that this new school year will be filled with not only exploration and effort, but also compassion and connection for all of our families and students. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Moore. Indeed, as a parent of a traditional student, and also rising 8th grader. I think this is the first year that like our house is not a buzz of excitement to start back school. So that was a little different at my house this year. There was no like, yes, I can't wait to go back. She just looked at me. She was like, school, it's in a few days. And I said, yes, it is. So we kicked off the week and got new glasses. She did. Yes. But again, the excitement is upon us, and it's one of those things. We live in a district, as I've been saying to my friends who have traditional students, is we will be wrapping up our kickoff of the school year on the 27th, not beginning. And I think it's important to remember we have students who've been in school since July 9th, and every time I look at that calendar, I'm still amazed and fascinated at the work that our district does to ensure that we can meet as many needs. I met with a group of parents yesterday, and this is truly one of the things I continue to say since I ran in 2013 is our responsibility is to lift up and hear those voices of our parents. But more importantly, it's our responsibility to work with them and not for them. And when we, especially those of us who are elected, when we forget how we're doing this, and then that makes it hard for parents to see why we're doing this. And so I want to say that I received a lot of emails from the parents that I met with last week just thanking us for listening, because I always go to every parent meeting, and I know many of my colleagues do, saying, I may not walk away with the yes, but I intend to walk away with you understanding our why. And that's what I want to say tonight is we just also saw our first draft of the student enrollment, and that is one of those things where you may not understand why we did it on the first draft, but that's why we'll have large community conversations. All of our board members are committed to hearing the voices and working with you, and hopefully we will be able to share our why, even when the answer isn't the yes that we all look for. And that's all of us who really do this work, and you advocate to us for the yes. And so what's important to me is that we are able to explain the why to you. And that's my commitment as we move throughout this process, and we continue to fine tune this process to engage those voices so that we're working with families and communities to achieve all the successes and innovations that we have in our schools. And the work that the staff continues to do is to ensure that it's reflected across the entire district, so that people really understand that when we talk about equity inclusion, we mean it on both sides of the house, not just curriculum, but we're really talking about the work that we're committed to. And so I say, be with us on the why and recognize that it is a process, and we'll continue to be engaged with you. And that's really all we can ask you for, is to continue to be engaged and continue to be at the table. And so I tell parents, and I'll end on this, coming to speak to us isn't, you don't have to say sorry. That's what our community should do. One of our main tenets in our strategic plan is family engagement. And so that's how I see when parents are talking to us and asking us and disagreeing with us, that's family engagement. And so I continue to say, absolutely, contact me and be engaged. And just remember that my goal of what I absolutely commit to is explaining and talking through the why. And thank you all as we kick off our first draft of student enrollment. We'll be on a whirlwind tour with our staff over there. And the dates are not posted. I've already got emails asking where are their dates for the community meetings. The Board Advisory Council meeting should be going up and being finalized in the next week or so, but those community forum dates will be posted as soon as they're finalized. And so I'm answering about 20 emails I already have this evening, but thank you all for already reaching out regarding our student enrollment plan. Dr. Martin.
Thank you. Begin with a thank you to the Cary Chamber of Commerce, who hosted their annual elected official dinner. It's always great to join with civic leaders across the county, and the Cary Chamber has done a great job of supporting education and bringing everybody together. Also want to congratulate the summer graduates. Several of us had a chance last week to celebrate summer graduation. My brain says it was about 61 graduates, something on that order, from quite a number of different high schools. So big congratulations to all the summer graduates. Graduation, to play with thermodynamic language, is a state function, not a path function. It matters that you get to the state, not how or how fast you get there. And our summer graduates have gotten there and are off to great things. So congratulations. I too give my support and wish the best for everybody starting their school year. I I'm at that stage myself where at NC State classes start tomorrow. So your class roster will go from a list of names and pictures to actually bodies and human relationships. And so a lot of what we'll do this year is try to teach material, but equally important is building those relationships with our students, because it's that relationship component that actually transforms lives. So I'm right there with you, looking forward to an exciting year. Finally, I'll note that since our last meeting, I had the wonderful privilege of celebrating the marriage of two Wake County Public School graduates, my daughter and her fiance. And I mention it here because in the toasts by both my now son-in-law's best man and my daughter's bridesmaid, both of the toasts heavily featured Wake County Public Schools, because Wake County Public Schools brought together the eclectic group of people that were our kids' friends. And when you looked at the bridal party, when you looked at the group of people gathered, it really was the diverse collection, eclectic collection that is Wake County. But that makes us who we are and makes us who we can be. So it's just a wonderful celebration, and great to see the Wake County Public Schools could be part of that special occasion in our family. Thank you.
I just wanted to briefly congratulate extend congratulations to our assistant principal and principal finalists, and look forward to that celebration. Thank you to each of you for your hard work. And then also just well wishes to all of our students as they return next week. I'm sure all of us will be out somewhere at some school on next Monday, and welcoming students, and just looking forward to a great year. So thank you.
Good evening. I wanted to also echo the great start to the school year that both our year-round schools and now our traditional schools with the teacher work days. It's been exciting to watch on Twitter and social media the energy that our teachers are bringing to the school year, those who have already begun and those who are getting ready to start. That's been a lot of fun, whether it's a dance challenge or some other way of bringing the theme of what starts here changes everything. I applaud all of our schools and wish everyone continued great start to the school year. I got a chance last week to be at Moore Square Middle School, which had, through the Raleigh Sister Cities, hosted a delegation from Nairobi, Kenya. And their very brave chorus teacher had this beautiful choir sing a Swahili song to these native speakers, and it was extraordinarily well received by these folks, and it was a great chance to share ideas with this delegation. Was mostly local public officials who have the same concerns as many of us do. We talked school calendar, start times for classes, as well as curriculum, but also the concern that they are also seeing a stratification of their public schools in Kenya, and wanted to have ideas about the magnet program and other ways that we are working hard to maintain our healthy public schools. So it was a shout out to Moore Square for hosting that delegation.
Earlier this month, the Wake County Commissioners voted to place a $548 million Wake County Schools bond proposal on this year's ballot. I oppose this bond proposal as bad for the taxpayers of Wake County. It has been stated that this bond would save $50 million. That only applies if the Commissioners borrow money without the voters' approval. I have not said that I oppose school construction. Seating capacity close to the students' homes is needed, but this has not been the #1 goal of management. I oppose this bond due to the many years of mismanagement by the school system administration and complete lack of any cost control by the Board of Education. The project approved by this board last month to demolish and replace East Wake Middle School is a fine example of this. The evaluation of this facility was a fabrication. No other buildings of similar age and less durable construction have been proposed for demolition. Previously, when a building at East Millbrook Middle had a serious fire that did structural damage and was evaluated honestly, it was deemed not qualified for demolition and was refurbished and is still in use today. That building is older and not of the superior type construction of East Wake Middle. The least cost for taxpayers of Wake County would be to make the county commissioners and Board of Education be concerned about the cost of facility construction. The only way the taxpayers can do this is with their votes this November. I believe this includes both the proposed bonds and the candidates.
I had the opportunity to bring greetings from the board to the Cary Chamber when they sponsored the golf tournament at McGregor Downs. It was for the benefit of education, which was really exciting. And two of our very own, Dr. Hedrick at Panther Creek and Betty Parker from our real estate department, were both participants in that tournament. I just wished them well. I think they had a good time. I have back meeting coming up on September 5th, 7 o'clock at Leesville Road High School. We will be receiving feedback on the student enrollment plan proposed, draft 1, and also for us to be able to answer questions. Glenn Carrozza will be there to answer all those questions. I have added to my Kathy Chats that I do monthly, an evening time of 7 p.m. Due to a request from several families, because it's just hard to come to a 10 o'clock in the morning time for everyone. So I've added some 7 o'clocks, and your back chairs, your PTA presidents will be receiving flyers that'll give you all those dates that are coming up between now and the end of December. Thank you.
With a few new schools coming next year, I'm sure student assignment will be our topic at my BAC meeting. It's a done deal. And that will be Thursday. It will be our topic, yes. And Glenn Carrozza will be there. It will be Thursday. Normally we meet on a Monday, but due to scheduling, we'll be meeting on a Thursday, September 6th at 6:30, and we will be at Hortons Creek Elementary.
Besides the graduations, summer graduation, that was great, and Cary Chamber, Ms. Kushner and I also did Stuff the Bus, and that was, I cannot say enough good things about Rex Healthcare and how they find supplies, so that's a fun day, and the bus is totally stuffed by the end of the day with supplies for our great teachers. This Friday night, Millbrook High School's football game will be dedicated to first responders and the military, so they'll be recognizing them at 7 o'clock this Friday. My back meeting will actually be the September 24th, but we will have a specially called one so Glenn can come be with us on September 12th at Wakefield Middle School, and we will have the student assignment plan gone over. That should be fun. And the other thing, I just returned from a weekend with 6 of my 9 grandchildren from the beach, and the two of the oldest were going to kindergarten this year. Their parents went with me because I couldn't do it by myself, but 2 of the oldest went with me, and all they talked about was kindergarten. They couldn't wait to start kindergarten. I know it's different than starting 8th grade. It's like, and one was in tears the last day because they couldn't ride the bus, and I don't know why they can't ride the bus either. So, but it was fun. So they're getting excited about kindergarten. Great time.
I too would like to congratulate the summer graduates. Also thank the Cary Chamber for bringing us together in a social setting. It's great to talk with legislators and folks we don't see all the time. I had the privilege of visiting the YMCA-operated Camp High Hope. Tremendous program working with primarily underprivileged kids, not just for recreation and development of character, but also specific educational activities to focus on their deficits. Reading, helping them, I mean, just they employ Wake County teachers to provide that instruction. Tremendous program that the YMCA operates, and almost all of it is the result of private donations to the YMCA to support scholarships for these kids. It's $200 per student per week, as I understand it, in terms of what they try to raise to support the program. And as many camps and children as they're serving, there's a waiting list of more than 300 to get into the program. I'm really excited about the Snazzy Company car promotion. And congratulations to our transportation people and HR for fully staffing our bus driver corps. Yeah. Okay. Well, we know it's a moving target, so to speak, and we're excited that we're able to report that to the public, and have high expectations that our new hires will enjoy meeting the students. That will bring a lot of joy into their lives. I had the pleasure of with the leadership from Enloe High School, introducing them to a broad meeting of realtors at the Realtor Board last week. They made their Enloe 5 presentation on equity and student-led efforts to improve relationships, break down barriers, to better engage students who are different than themselves, as well as helping the staff understand what's different. And we had two of the teachers, two administrators, and one of the students who was there, and they made a tremendous impression on the realtors about what we're doing in our schools to break down barriers and improve relationships among our children. After all, the world runs on relationships. Speaking of which, our Spanish-speaking superintendent and I attended a church service out in Wendell at the, I'm going to try to say this, Iglesia Pentecostal, First Church. Probably about 350 Spanish-speaking folks were present. It was interesting. The service had to be interpreted, not for me, although it helped. It had to be interpreted for the students. And it was a celebration of students who had graduated, and the testimonies these young people gave will just rip your heart out. Through adversity, they graduated from Knightdale, East Wake, one of the charter schools in Wake County. Several students had graduated from schools in neighboring counties and had already gone on either to higher ed or to military induction. And it was really give appreciation to Pastor Vatanza for inviting us to come out and the opportunity to celebrate with the Hispanic community. Student assignment. Carrie is going to be leading the way on our meetings. Next Wednesday, the 29th, we'll have a presentation from Glenn Carroza at Adams Elementary School at 6:30. And we're trying to get it in before the Labor Day weekend, so then parents can digest it and provide feedback through the different tools that the district has set up for that. So look forward to seeing folks there to get their feedback on the student assignment plan. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'll now entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you. For public comment, citizens who sign up to address the board during public comment will be called on in priority order. First for items on the agenda and then for items not on the agenda. Each individual speaker will be allowed 3 minutes for remarks. Specific personnel or student matters are not appropriate for this public comment setting, but may be addressed through applicable WCPSS personnel, the grievance policy, or other applicable policies. Joanne Murrell.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Joanne Morrell, and I am a retired teacher and grandmother of 2 boys from the Kitts Creek community in Morrisville. I am here to thank the school board and Glenn Carroza and the student assignment office staff for assigning the Kitts Creek community to Alston Ridge Elementary School and Alston Ridge Middle School in the draft 2019-20 enrollment plan. Thank you for providing proximity and stability from kindergarten through 8th grade to my grandsons and other Kitts Creek students in the first draft of the enrollment plan. As an educator of over 20 years, I know the value of family engagement to support teachers' efforts as we educate generation after generation of students with less budget funding and supplies while navigating changing academic requirements. I also know how important after-school activities can be for some students to develop supportive school relationships that they could not find otherwise. This is why assignment to a more proximate middle school in the 2019-20 enrollment plan is so important to families like mine and the Kitts Creek community. In closing, on behalf of my family and other Kitts Creek families, thank you for listening to us and providing Kitts Creek with more proximate schools. Please include and approve assignment of Alston Ridge Elementary and Alston Ridge Middle School to the Kitts Creek community in the final draft proposal to be adopted in late November. Thank you.
Deepa Ramakrishna.
Hi, I'm Deepa Ramakrishnan from Morrisville, Kitts Creek. I would like to start off by thanking our assignment board led by Mr. Glenn Carosa. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for listening to our children, and we have waited for this long. You have no idea the impact this proposed assignment would have on the quality of our lives. Our children will have more time to spend on doing things they love instead of being on the bus. Thank you. I'd like to thank the school board members and especially Kathy Harenstein for constantly setting up meetings and talking to us parents and speaking for us. Our kids currently go to the 6th closest middle school, and the new school, Alston Ridge Middle, would be less than 3 miles. We know the pressure to make Alston Ridge Middle a traditional one was and will be overwhelming. In times when budget and resources are tight and we need to make sure every school is well utilized, there is little choice. But we have to make the school operational and year-round. You will definitely hear an outcry about making it year-round. However, you will be serving a lot more families by keeping it year-round. So, like Mr. Glenn Carosa mentioned today, when it comes to what the public wants and what the district needs, it's a tough choice. But we are very happy that the assignment board chose the needs rather than the wants. Hortons Creek went traditional because the West Cary parents were loud about wanting traditional schools, and so did Mills Park Middle. But looking back, they were both not the right calendar choices. Looking at the growth in the areas, the schools are brimming. Sometimes the growth and the lack of resources give us no choice until we can all catch up or the demand or the area changes. Thank you.
Jerry Wendell.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak to the members of the school board. My name is Jerry Wendell. I'm a council member for the town of Morrisville, and my district happens to be District 2, which is the Kitts Creek area, Providence Place area in Morrisville. But tonight I'd like to speak on behalf of the Morrisville Town Council. I'm so pleased to be with my colleague Liz Johnson, who is another member of the Morrisville Town Council, and I'd like to read to you tonight a resolution from the town of Morrisville to the school board, and we'll actually be having a formal presentation to you all. And this is Resolution 2018-267 of the Morrisville Town Council expressing appreciation to the Wake County Public School System and Research Triangle Park. Whereas the town of Morrisville values its community partners, and whereas both Wake County Public School System and Research Triangle Park have served as integral regional partners to the town of Morrisville, and whereas Morrisville residents have been particularly engaged and provide invaluable input to town council Morrisville, town staff, and Wake County Public School System on the topic of the needs for schools in Morrisville, potential school locations, school calendars, and other related topics. Residents have shared feedback at both council meetings and the Wake County Public School System board meetings. And whereas Morrisville currently has 2 Wake County Public School System elementary schools, but no middle or high school are located in Morrisville. And whereas Morrisville citizens shared the lack of access and proximity to Wake County Public School System schools in Morrisville was making it a challenge for daily commutes, continued education, and for families to establish or maintain long-term residency within the town. And whereas the Wake County Public School System recently approved the purchase of 44 acres of land for a future school to be constructed adjoining the town of Morrisville in the Research Triangle Park and the new site of Parkside Elementary School. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Morrisville Council hereby acknowledges and expresses sincere appreciation to the Wake County Public School System and the Research Triangle Park, their representatives, for the efforts made to engage in and receive community feedback, and for playing such a vital role in the growth of our community and for the future of our children. That was adopted on the 14th day of August, 2018, signed by Mayor T.J. Colley. So I just want to say thank you so much. You know, we talk about community and we talk about the need for communication, and I think we all have been so successful in that this year. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We will now move on to our informational item this evening. Academic advancement, the School Health Advisory Council, which we call the SHAC annual report, will be presented by Brian Glendenning, and it looks like he has the chair, Ann Rollins, with him as well.
So to be clear, I am just going to introduce the chair, and she will be doing the presenting. So
great, I just introduced you.
Wonderful. My name is Brian Glendenning. I'm the Senior Administrator for Healthful Living K-12 for our school system, and I am also the District Liaison to the School Health Advisory Council, also known as the SHAC. The School Health Advisory Council is charged with providing recommendations to the Board of Education and the Superintendent. The recommendations are to be aligned with the 10 areas of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Whole Child, Whole School, Whole Community model. This year marks the 28th anniversary of the Wake County SHAC. Ann Rollins is the current chair, and she is here to provide the Council's annual report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and the Board of Education and the Superintendent. I am Ann Rollins, the Chair of the School Health Advisory Council for Wake County, and we have...
It'll come up.
Okay. It's magic. Magic. Okay. So while it's
floating,
we are an advisory group of the school and community representatives in Wake County. The DPI requires that every LEA have a SHAC, and so we have our members that you can see here, and we, now I can click, or maybe not.
There you go.
All right. So we are under the board policy 6140 that states that Wake County will maintain a SHAC, and we will help plan, update, promote, and monitor the policy, as well as address other health and nutrition issues within the school system. The council's authorized to examine related research and laws, access student needs and current school environment, review existing board policies, administrative regulations, collaborate with appropriate community organizations and agencies, and raise awareness of health issues in Wake County. And the policy we can refer to in Appendix A of your packet. We additionally compose representatives from the school system, from local health and human services, and the community. We provide periodic reports and an annual report to the Board of Education. And as you see, Look at Brian's over there doing it. Okay. We utilize the whole child, whole school, whole community model, and we strive as a SHAC to have representation of those 10 focus areas. As you know, several years ago it went from 8 to 10, and it really encompasses and is this socio-ecological model of the child's in the middle and those emotional, social, environmental that go out all the way to the community surrounding. So we try to have representation and look at those health issues and environmental issues. So our report this year specifically will provide us with, we'll be providing y'all with 11 commendations and then 2 recommendations. So the first commendation is around school wellness. And we took a very active role that this was the most important thing that we could look at, and that is to make sure with the changes in the crosswalk, with the renumbering and others, that schools and community families and the Board of Ed understood the change in the school wellness policy. And we appreciate that last year we were allowed to make some recommendations to enhance that policy. And you'll see one example here at Northridge Elementary that Rob Suter has created a committee dedicated to staff wellness. And there are other examples across the county with that. So one of my favorites, and I'm going to call out a special person that's sitting behind me, Paula DeLuca with Child Nutrition Services with the Smart Snack Solutions. And I know you have this as an appendix, but I think it's so cool and so impressive that I want everybody in the public or here to know that these are snacks that PTA, teachers, public can purchase from Child Nutrition Services that align with the very sophisticated and complex school nutrition servings. So I'm gonna, I know I'm not supposed to do it, but I'm doing it anyway. To provide, and I'll go back to script, but Paula DeLuca has really led some efforts, and I can't praise her enough. She's worked with PTA, she's worked with the North Carolina PTA, she's also been on our school advisory and helped us to understand the complex nutrition that's needed to maintain a national school nutrition system. So our next commendation is around bullying prevention. And as you know, we have been working with this for years, but have really taken some great strides and moved out to work with the community partners to have this countywide and community-wide bullying prevention initiatives. And You Thrive, another organization, has worked with Wake County and other partners to collaborate on anti-bullying messages. And then we're continuing this collaboration and moving and shifting even into more specifically suicide prevention during this fall. Our next commendation is around expanding our efforts in food security. And I know that y'all have had a countywide with the Capital Area Food Network and our summer feeding. As far as school pantries, we've increased, and the Backpack Buddies summer feeding, where we've really tried to expand those services, and you can see that we have increased those over the last 3 to 4 years. While we are making some strides there, and we really do accommodate, I know the Capital Area Food Network now has 62 action initiatives across Wake County, and the School Health Advisory Council is supporting those efforts and commend the efforts in those areas. Our next commendation is for the Advocates for Health and Action's Brain and Body Award Schools. And y'all have gotten that presentation, so I'm not going to read those schools again, but we support that we are really emphasizing and celebrating when we're having great health and wellness in Wake County and our schools. The second is around our Sneakers and Spokes Awards, and that also goes along with supporting healthy activities in our Wake County schools. The next commendation is the collaboration between Alliance for a Healthier Generation and the Post Center for Health Education's Be Well schools. And so this is a 3-year commitment to we're working in 2 schools, Lincoln Heights and East Garner, around holistically school health assessments, creating action plans for not only the staff but school-wide, and then looking at grant funding and other ways to promote health and health education in the schools for the students and the staff and the community and parents there. So one example at Lincoln Heights, because they didn't have the exact needs, their resources exactly for a school garden, an aquaponic garden was set up at the school, and it was so successful they wrote a grant, and they are now adding 2 more. And it's quicker. If you don't know about hydroponic gardens, I could tell you a lot, but I will restrain myself. But they are so successful, and they're fast and all year. So our next commendation is the implementation of the Trauma-Informed Schools model and the Community Resiliency Model, or CRM, to support schools with high number of vulnerable children and youth. And it's currently, as you know, being modeled at 2 alternative schools in the district. But in March, the Community Resiliency Model orientation sessions were provided for any school that wanted to learn about the CRM model. And then in April, 35 school-based staff members were trained in the CRM. And then in June, there was a train the trainer training. And so they're working to confirm adding a middle school to begin school-wide implementation. Our next commendation is for ACEs, or Adverse Childhood Experiences. And so, as you know, those indicators with ACEs and implementation in Wake County is really becoming aware of the initiative and the resilience film that's been offered and continues to be offered through Advocates for Health and Action and other county-wide organizations. And then to own the ACEs and resilience scores, to identify ways to create school policy or practice that will increase resilience for kids and staff, and then assure that the policies and practices include and increase resilience. So the desired result through the ACEs is to increase personal resilience and have the knowledge and skills necessary to teach and support resilient skills and make appropriate connections. Our next commendation is around the structures to support school gardens. And we were fortunate to have Megan Lewis, a teacher from Willow Springs, is our school district rep to work directly with community organizations and schools that want to create a school garden and to host informational sessions around supporting school gardens in Wake County. And going back to one of my favorites, you can now see the actual hydroponic gardens. And this is Lincoln Heights, where they started that, and then you can see with their custodian have really added dimensions for that. Our next and last commendation is around continued implementation of the wellness, fitness data collection, and growth model. And as you know, it's available for all the Helpful Living teachers. These are personal fitness goals that are stressed. They're not universal proficiency standards. And so the following Helpful Living programs received reward banners based on their performance in growth: Cedar Forks, Jones Dairy, Riverbend Middle, Leesville High School, and in proficiency, Lead Mine, Knightdale, Fuquay-Varina Middle, Davis Drive Middle, Panther Creek, and East Wake High Schools. So moving to our two recommendations, we determined and had some training this past year to really say we want to focus and look at the school wellness policy and training, and that we would use our time to really hone in on two priorities. And the school wellness training is something that we want to take to the advisory councils, to PTAs, to schools, and to the administration to make sure that we understand policy requirements and the existing opportunities for school wellness. In about a week, we're going to have a summer leadership training here in this building with PTA leaders, and then we are willing as SHAC members to come and attend Board Advisory Council meetings to share the information to make sure that our families and staff are aware of the school wellness policy. And then the second recommendation is around maintaining physical education in our schools. And we have data in Appendix C that talks about our district fitness data shows that students demonstrating proficiency in cardiovascular fitness are performing better on EOG and EOC exams than students who do not demonstrate cardiovascular proficiency. And secondly, that district fitness data show that students demonstrating proficiency are less likely to be excessively absent. And in Appendix C, you can actually see the data, the hard data. So I am here for questions or other comments, but we appreciate the ability to research these things and bring information back to you. So thank you, and I hope that we can just open this conversation and keep it going. So are there any questions?
Mr. Sutton.
If it's necessary, but I move to receive the SHAC report as information only.
The two
Second.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, there are two recommendations. So we have a motion, and Mr. Fletcher, did you second?
I did.
Okay, sorry.
May I make a comment?
Yes, you may.
Ann Rollins has been serving Wake County in this school district for a long, long time. And you continue to be a blessing to us. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this would be more of a symbolic vote in
Yes.
that it's an information item, but.
And to that point, I think it's necessary, not only because they're things that we support or I support, but also I think it's important to note to the committee for all of their hard work that oftentimes symbolism does matter to let people know that we're also listening and paying attention. And it's great to see the movement that your committee has had in our schools. We attended Northridge, and I run an organization, and creating a wellness plan for employees is one of those things that goes very far, that could cost you very little if very thoughtful about it. So thank you all for the work that you're doing, and thank you for the staff, but also the community partners who continue to do the hard work on our SHAC, so that as a school board, we can actually have a symbolic vote. Mr. Fletcher.
I would I know there was interest on the part of SHAC of having more conversation, and in particular with the trauma-informed schools and ACEs conversations. I think most of us want to have greater human resources in our schools to help support both of these concepts, and I would like to ask the chair to see at some point in the future how we might be able to have more conversation with SHAC about how we can accomplish that. And it's not, they don't have a check to write, and we don't have a check to write.
Looks like Ms. Rollins has a point to make.
So we would just ask that at least one of you like to join us and be a part of our SHAC.
Absolutely. I think you can get, I think several of us are interested.
There we go. I know. We'll take you, Roxy.
And I live the trauma-informed work daily.
Yes.
So
thank you.
So I think you're definitely going to get several of us who are interested, not just as board members, but again, to Ms. Cash's point, several of us also spend our careers doing this work as well. And so we, again, greatly appreciate the work that you all are doing.
And you're making a difference as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kushner, Dr. Martin.
Well, I wanted to also lift up how many of the commendations this year. Having a long list of commendations was very kind of the SHAC this year. And some of them had appeared on recommendations in the past. So we're making movement, and SHAC is making a difference for our school system. And along the lines of Mr. Fletcher's comments toward ACEs and the community resilience model, we as a school system also need to make sure that we're responding to the community's need and they're asking us to address these issues within our schools, and for us to leverage this community support for us to be able to help students and help our teachers and staff respond to the greater needs of our students. This is really, I think, very important work, and we have to get our house together as well as leveraging community support. So that I would welcome a conversation, Madam Chair, along those lines, certainly. Thank you.
Dr. Martin.
Yeah, I too want to thank you for both the commendations and the recommendations. I'm particularly intrigued by the data you pulled together with respect to the cardiovascular proficiency and the EOC scores, as I'm wont to do, right? I tend to be the data guy. Always want to be careful to separate causation and correlation and causation. And I think there's some of both here, but I'd be very interested if you could add to this correlation the socioeconomic component, because I think oftentimes the cardiovascular health is often associated with, food access, which often is correlated to wealth and so on. And so as we think about a number of our initiatives, we have to develop acuity models, and that's going to tell us where we need to put more effort, and it may be, more effort at recess. Maybe it's more effort at nutrition, maybe whatnot. But I'd love to tease this out a little bit more, because I think this is really important data. But I think what you've got here is more correlation than causation, and I think we've got to do some work to dig out the cause so that we can impact the correlation. But I think it's important beginning to peel the onion.
Did you end on that? Sorry, Dr. Martin.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Kushner, your hand's raised again. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, first of all, besides Ms. Rollins and I have worked together for over 100 years, I appreciate this greatly. I also wanted to thank Ms. Kushner. I mean, you have worked tirelessly on the ACEs the resilience policy-making team. So if none of you know, she has led that group a lot in the policy-making, and I want to thank you for that.
Watch these policymaker work group is coming up with policies for the school board, so that is yet to come.
Don't worry, I run a community group that has a whole list for the school system as well. So we probably should compare notes. Maybe hopefully they'll be the same and not different, because there's several groups working on recommendations for the school system. So thank you, Ms. Kushner and Ms. Cash, for attending those meetings with AHA. And thank you all again. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you.
Madam Chair, move approval of our next item, the consent items as listed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to our action items. First, Board Policy 5027, weapons and explosives prohibited. Mr. Russ Smith.
Good evening, Chair Johnson Hostler, Superintendent Moore, and board members. As part of the policy migration, I bring you tonight for the first reading Board Policy 5027, 7275, weapons and explosives prohibited. This policy has been reviewed at the SLT meeting on April the 30th and approved by the Policy Committee on July the 31st. When given final board approval, this policy will replace our current policy 2302. Staff is requesting board approval.
On behalf of the Policy Committee, I'd like to move that we approve this revision of the policy on first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. No discussion. Thank you, Mr. Smith. All in favor, please know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you. Next, Board Policy 5120, relationship with law enforcement. First reading as well.
Yes, ma'am. As part of the policy migration, I bring you tonight for first reading Board Policy 5120, relationship with law enforcement. The policy was reviewed at the SLT meeting on April the 9th and approved at the Policy Committee meeting on July the 31st. When given final board approval, this policy will replace our current policy 6605. Staff is requesting board approval.
Again, on behalf of the Policy Committee, I'd like to move approval of this Policy 5120 on first reading.
Second.
Ms. Mahaffey?
I just wanted to point out that I noted since we've approved it in policy, just adding the link to the school resource officer MOU in there. I think that helps our parents and community understand the delineation between our SROs and what we're outlining in this policy.
Dr. Martin.
Absolutely, and in addition to that, Russ, I'd like to thank you and your team for the continued work on this policy and building strong relationships between our schools and law enforcement. Having that strong interface of training, I think, has gone a long way. We all obviously have more work that we always need to do, but this is going very much in a strong direction. And thank you to you and to the committee for choosing to retain the language that we'd originally written in this policy that really emphasizes the collective responsibility of the entire community to keep our schools safe. It is not just the law enforcement, it's not just the administration, it's everybody from the top to the student. It is a community collective responsibility, and I think this policy does a good job of capturing that. And I think we can offer this as a model policy for the law enforcement interactions with schools. Thank you.
Thanks. All in favor, please know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Board Policy 5230. Dr. Brad McMillan.
Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Moore, I'm here tonight to present Board Policy 5230, participation in research projects, as part of our policy migration work that we're doing. This policy was reviewed by SLT this past March and also reviewed and approved by Policy Committee at their most recent meeting on July the 31st. Should you vote to adopt it, it would replace current policy 2550 in our policy manual. So I'd like to submit it for approval.
On behalf of the Policy Committee, I'd like to move approval of 5230 on its first reading.
Second.
Melissa can flip a coin. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please note by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. McMillan.
Thank you.
We'll now entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session to consider confidential personnel information protected under GS 143-318.11A1, A3, and A6, and C-319 to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve attorney-client privilege as provided in GS 143-318.11A3, to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided with GS 143-318.11A3 due to current litigation, TJ by and through his parents, KJ and RJ v. WCPSS 18 EDC 04056, Office of Administrative Hearings, to consider confidential student information protected under GS 115C-402 in the Family Educational and Privacy Rights Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G, and to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the board in order to preserve attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the board, and to consult with and instruct board staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken on behalf of the board on the particulars of the acquisition of real property related to E44 target area in southern Wake County area, and concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the board in negotiation of price and other material terms of a proposed contract for the lease of real property in the Central Wake area from landlord Raleigh Durham Office Partners LLC, Crossroads 3, and to receive the board's instructions as the position to be taken on behalf of the board negotiations in relation thereto.
Second.
It was so long we were waiting for the second. Thank you. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries. We'll now go into closed session.